Hey y'all, hey, I'm Xandria and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be doing a review on Sarah Jake's books. It's Woman Evolve by Sarah Jakes Roberts. I have notes so that I can stay on task. Sarah Jakes talks about being true to yourself in this book in a partnership with God. Is there something about yourself that you ever feel shy or hesitant to share that is truly who you are to others? And how do you think sharing that part with others will make you feel more confident and happier? Let's get into it. As a Black woman that has struggled with self-doubt, and even now I struggle with its and bits of self-doubt, but I also struggled with building my relationship with God in the past, not encountering a relationship with Him or being intentional about making one. So when I've been noticing this book and seeing the books around. I remember when she launched it, seeing the post. I actually saw a friend of mine post that she had read the book, and it's always been in the back of my mind to read this book. For whatever reason, I always watch Sarah Jakes Roberts. Her sermons have always touched me, and I love how she tells her story to make it relatable and encourages women with her sermons. I saw that this book, it says at the bottom, break up with your fears and revolutionize your life. And if you don't know, I used to be a very scary person as far as just being me. And let me just tell you that Sarah Jakes Roberts did not disappoint in this book. And I wish I could share with you all the points, but this book review is to kind of persuade you, compel you to purchase the book, because she did not disappoint at all, and it wasn't a boring read. You can actually see her personality within the book, and it's just like you're getting a sermon from her, whether it be on YouTube or in person. Woman Evolve teaches so many lessons. I love that she related it back to scripture, back to God. She always brought it back to God. I'm just going to share 5 of my biggest takeaways from this book. The first one is she sets the scene in the beginning of telling the story from Eve's point of view. I love how she made Eve the main person, the superhero, after God made her story relate to a woman such as myself. And she tells the story of how she went into this conference and women had on these shirts of women in the Bible that they want to be like, and nobody had Eve on their shirt. For my personal experience, Eve was always the bad guy. She went in the garden, she got us that thing that come once a month and just mess up our whole day. And she shows how she relates it to Eve, because even though Eve, she didn't listen to God, He still wanted to use her. Touch me in a way, if you read the Bible app, it's this one church, it's like broken crayons still color. And I love how she used Eve. Even though she did not listen to God, God still had plans, the same plans for her that He had before. It just needed a little bit of rearranging, some glue, and it was a lot of detours. But I love how she chose Eve to convey the types of messages in this book to get a better understanding. And shoot, she got me thinking Eve is my best friend. The way she explained it in the book was so good. Because if you're like me, all I knew about Eve is that she didn't listen to God. She took a bite of the apple from the tree she wasn't supposed to. She let the snake trick her, and her and Adam got kicked out. That's it, but nothing else. Number 2, being who you were called to be by God and not who people told you that you were. Protecting your mind from sabotage. And she talks about the seduction of sabotage. This part really touched me clearly. Who made you question who you are? Who put the spirit of doubt in you? Who put that you were ugly in you? Who put that you weren't enough for you? Who put that if you do this you're gonna fail? who put that in you, because that wasn't something that God gave you. And she relates it back to how your mind could be your biggest enemy if you don't take care of it. And she relates it back to how Eve always, she wasn't even curious about the fruit on the tree that God told her not to touch. She always said that God, he told me not to touch it, so I'm not. Until the serpent had put into her mind, why can't you touch the tree? It's just like any other tree, the fruits on any other tree. And she started questioning that. And it started to grow and grow to where it deterred her from what he told her. And I want to give an example that relates to me. One of the things that I got stuck at, when I was in elementary school, believe it or not, I thought I was ugly, and people always get surprised by that. And it made me go back into elementary school where somebody was telling me that I was ugly every day. I had acne, I was dark skinned, and this was the reason why I was ugly. God never put that in my mind. It was somebody in the world that put that in my mind. I never even thought to think about, because in elementary, I literally was not thinking about looks or how somebody looked or anything. That was not in my mind until this person put it there and kept putting it there. So the question is like, who told you you were ugly? That is what grew in my mind. Even though it was little, the little pinch of faith or how God sees you, your confidence, it was just striking away at it. Instead of me going to, well, did God tell you that? Who told you that? Who told you that you were ugly? Who told you that? And that was a question for me, because she has journal prompts within the book. I know ugly or your looks aren't a thing, but that was a big thing for me, and somebody may be going through that. So I love that she asked, like, who told you that? Did I tell you that? Did God tell you that? But when something is pulling you away from what God has envisioned for your life and what he told you that you are, that is sabotage, the seduction of sabotage, because the enemy doesn't have to, let's say, throw a rock at you to knock you down. All he has to do is get somebody to ask you that one question or criticize you that one time or reject you that one time for it to grow and pinch a hole into your faith, to get you to, it'll slowly make you run away from God. And I hope that is making sense, but she called it the seduction of sabotage, where the enemy doesn't have to do much, but just have someone insert that one question of doubt in you, that one question of like you shouldn't be confident, or to close your mouth, you shouldn't be speaking, and you're supposed to be the greatest speaker in the world. It says the power of one question can move you further away from God's vision for your life. Number 3, she had in here, she gives you a template of how to pray. I have struggled with how to pray. I know God takes his prayer as is, but I felt like my prayer needed to be very intentional. And she gives you a template of how to pray. And the template for how to pray, so it goes adoration. Adoration is just thanking God for, or telling him who he is. You are a believer, you are a healer, you are a provider, you are everything. You are the beginning and the end. And then the confession is confessing. Like for me, I had to confess, Lord, I'm so sorry for having doubt in myself. And then the other thing is gratitude. Lord, thank you for your grace and mercy. And number 4 is an intercession. Pretty much just talking with God, asking him for his desires over your life, and if those desires are not his desire, to remove those desires from your life. Number 4, I really love this one. A curse or a blessing. And she talks about how sometimes when you get that blessing, you're so happy to have the blessing that it starts to become a burden. And she has a journal prompt where she says, write down some blessings, some things that used to be blessings to you that you feel are a burden now. One thing that I wrote was having my house. Me and my husband took pictures. We were so happy to get the house. And well, yeah, we were happy to get the house, and then over time I'm just like, man, this is just another bill. We should have waited, or we should have invested like I wanted to do. And it was starting to become a burden, or a blessing turning into a burden. And she goes into, you need to write down why this is feeling like a burden, and you need to realize that this was a blessing. And it really helped a lot, writing it down and breaking it down. And one of the things she says, I wrote it down: remember, the blessing came from God, we're only borrowing. And she says, a blessing is God allowing his resources to become your own. And it's like, why wouldn't I love my blessing? And why would it be a burden for me to have my own house? I bought it with my husband. I get to have children in this house. And luckily we got it right before the pandemic, because if your area is like mine, the rent is skyrocketing. So it was nice to write that down and be intentional. Why was I feeling like that? And those problems can be easily solved. God didn't give me that worry. He's very much been taking care of me my whole life. And it made me realize that I be worrying about stuff that's not needs to be worried about, because I love my house. I love that I purchased it with my husband. You can make a blessing turn into a burden unconsciously. But also realizing she defined blessing as God allowing his resources to become our own. So we always have to remember the blessing came from God. We're only borrowing. My husband is a blessing. Like, that is something God has given to me. He's lent to me. He can take it away at any time. Number 5, reward your failures. Failures are good, and I'm glad that she talks about this. And I really love this chapter because she goes into detail how people won't try things because they're so scared to fail. And like I said, for all of these things, she relates it back to the scripture. Like, people won't try something because they're scared it will fail. And I look back on my life, like, I've failed so many things, but I learned so many things from those failures. And I have experiences that I probably would have never had if I had not took the risk, and just failed anyway. It's okay. It's okay. Failure makes you grow. One of the quotes in the book that was really good, she said, it was from an article, a BBC article. They said, you must reward people for failing. If not, they won't take risks and make breakthroughs. If you don't reward failure, people will hang on to a doomed idea for fear of the consequences. And what I took from that, like, people may be so afraid to fail that they will keep trying at this one thing that failed and is not working because they want to make it work from fear of consequences. You should not be doing that. Like, failure should, okay, it didn't work, let's try something new. Okay, that didn't work, let's try something new. Failure should be seen as good, and people should definitely celebrate that versus being afraid of the consequences. A seed can only be successful when you partner with God. If it fails, it fails. It may not go like you want, but you did something you might never had done. And I thought that was so true. Even relating it back to myself. What if I did leave my job? Like, a lot of people never leave their job. I can always go back to work, but I also wanted to try entrepreneurship without the obligation of a job. Like, and I can tell that experience to someone else to help better their entrepreneur journey. So those are my 5 takeaways that I really love. There's so many more. I took a whole bunch of notes. Look, in my journal, there's a lot of notes. So there's a lot of notes in here. But I'm not going to share them all because I really think y'all should go and get this book quick, fast, in a hurry, or even go to your local library as a free resource. No excuses. And the one takeaway that has been the most effective in my life that I've been using ever since I read it was the template for prayer. I feel like the way she does this is effective and it's intentional, and it puts God first. My overall opinion of the book is that this is a book for a woman that's embracing who she is, a woman that has been through it. This is a book for that woman, the scar woman, the woman who's making a lot of mistakes, the woman who doesn't know who she is yet and just trying to figure out. Woman Evolved by Sarah Jakes Roberts is for you. That is all about Woman Evolved by Sarah Jakes Roberts. I gotta return this book tomorrow. Y'all read a chapter a day, which was wonderful, early in the morning or late at night. So the question that I have for you all before I go today is, how do you think being true to yourself can make you feel happier and more confident? Can you think of something about yourself that you can celebrate and be proud of? And let me know in the comments. I want to celebrate you too. I want to celebrate your growth for even sharing that with the world. But also, I will be starting a book club soon, and if you are interested in that, there will be a Google form link that you can fill out and you can be on the list to be notified. So don't forget to comment, answer that question, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.